Hello, everyone. Welcome to another stream of Art Lounge Alley. This is the project stream, and this is the current project I'm currently working on. It is a painting done by Jacques-Louis David. He's a French painter, and the painting is The Death of Socrates. It's one of my favorite paintings, and I'm going to show you guys the original. This is the original right here. And I haven't really gone too far in it. I'm mainly focusing on Plato right now, and then I'm going to be moving on to working on other features as well. And just kind of like bleed out from him out onto other characters as well. And going up from like, I guess, left to right. But this is as far as I've gotten. I really got into Plato's face, but I'm really trying to make sure things are proportionate before I start going into detail and adding on all sorts of shadows and colors and so on. First, I want to make sure it is correct. Like, I want to say that his legs are actually longer. I have two choices here. I could just shrink his head down or extend the legs. This is currently the challenge that I'm faced with. Decisions. And I think I'm gonna go with shrinking his head, because I can't extend it longer, because then everything else I'm gonna have to extend as well. Like, for instance, this block right here that he's sitting on has to be on the same level as his feet. So basically like this. So I might have to do just a little bit of shrinking here. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't select the right one. I was like, why am I not getting any sort of gradation here? Thick oil paint. That's what I was looking for. That's more like it. That's just half the battle, because really, something that I talked about before when it comes to using this tool, there's so many gradations in between these colors that even using the droplet tool, I'm not getting accurate results of it. Like, I still have to pick based on what I'm seeing rather than using the droplet tool. Like, I'm seeing in the shadow there's like green and red, green and blue kind of mixed in, some elements of yellow. So I just kind of have to go off of that rather than using the droplet tool. Whoops. Just have to like play around with it until they mix well and it starts to resemble the original. But I am enjoying how it like transitions from color to color. It does have this like oil kind of feel to it. How the colors kind of blend into one another. Alright, surgery time, I guess. I'm gonna try to correct this proportion problem. It's not gonna be pretty. I'm probably gonna be irritated with the results. But it's better than pretending as if the things are proportionate. How's that? Maybe too small. Gonna snap it into that. It's gonna take me a minute to figure out whether this is an accurate surgical procedure. I'm gonna say no. I think it's too small. Just a little bit. Maybe that's a little better. I am working on something off stream. And I'm just like debating on whether I should just continue working on this painting while working on this other project off stream. But another part of me wants to introduce you guys to it because I think it has some like really valuable scenarios. It's a really interesting angle. It's something that I haven't done. I'm trying to challenge myself with a new perspective. And I want to share it with you guys, share the process. So I'm still kind of debating on it. I'm going to say this is accurate. It's really tricky, and it's a really important stage to get this accuracy. Because as I mentioned, once I'm going to go into detail, I can't backpedal as much. And they're just like little things like the angle of, let's say, this section right here. That can make a world of a difference. I don't want to get bogged down by it. If anything, I'm just going to keep moving. I want to stay in the flow of it. And then towards the end, make some adjustments. I mean, the thing is with these painters, right? Back in that day, they didn't have like Control Z to undo things, or like have the lasso, the magic lasso, to like correct little mistakes. Like, they were that accurate about everything that they were doing. Granted, they had all the time in the world, I think. Like, these artists, this is different times. People weren't, I think, burdened by inflation as much. Like, artists were actually able to make a living off of just like one painting. That'll give them plenty of time to work on another painting, and they would spend like months on paintings. Like, this isn't something that he's done in like a week. You know, these artists spend like I mentioned, like months, depending on how big it is too. Oil painting is totally different approach. You know, the amount of understanding when it comes to using materials, like using the Wacom tablet, there isn't really that much to learn about it. You know, it's just like using a pencil. But with oils, it's very specific. The kind of brushes that you're using, the kind of effects that you get from each brush, how to use each brush, how to mix colors, you know, how to use the mediums for mixing colors like linseed oil and turpentine and all these other mediums as well to get results. How to gesso the canvas before you actually start working on it, so it doesn't absorb all the oils. You know, there's like so much that goes into it. It's a very laborious task, and that's one of the reasons why I find it absurd when people want an oil painting at the rate of doing a digital drawing. You know, they have like all these high expectations. They don't understand the process, and then they get irritated when the person who they're demanding it from gets irritated. You know, so it's just, yeah, it's this absurdity to it. Like, I think that's, it's kind of where things are. You know, I think in the art field, I'm not going to say across the board, because there are very, very, very well established circles where people are really informed about like the artistic process, like what really goes into it, and their expectations are based off of like the work of the artist. But for the majority, I'm gonna say, you know, there are people who just have absolutely zero clue, and then they become resentful about it too. Like, I've had offers, actually, and this is something that I talked about before as well. I've had offers where people wanted me to do like oil paintings of their family members, and it's not coming from somebody who's well familiar with like the artistic field. They just saw some of my work and they're like, oh, I like it, and they approached me and they wanted me to do it. But the amount of time that they wanted me to do it in, style that they wanted me to do it in, the price, you know, like completely disconnected from how long it takes to do an oil painting, how much it costs to do one, just on the materials alone. You know, he was asking for a really big canvas, working off of an image that wasn't really detailed, you know, so all of these things. And then when I told him the real price, he's like, oh, well, that's too much. And he's like, well, you know, I've asked other people. And I was like, well, you know, I don't know what to tell you. This is what the approach requires. And this is how long it's going to take. And this is how long it's going to, how much it's going to cost, because it also has to be worthwhile financially. You know, we do have bills to pay, so we can't spend months and months something that requires pretty much, like, depending on the deadline, like the deadline is a month or something, that means you would need to spend the entire day basically painting, to create painting, especially if it's like realistic, something along the lines of what you're seeing right now. That requires like all day. So you can't have another job to get it done within that time frame. If you actually stick to their schedule, if you actually agree to it. And at the end of it, you should be able to pay your rent as well as save for the next month so that you could take on, let's say, another project, at least. So that way you can continue in that direction. But a lot of these people, they just come in just wanting what they want without really thinking about the needs of the artist who's going to provide them something that they want. They don't think about that as much. It's this very self-centered, pretty arrogant approach. But I've heard other people talking about similar scenarios and the kind of demands that people would make. Just completely unrealistic expectations. And then getting irritated and being like, oh, artists are this, that, and the other. It's ridiculous. But yeah, just to say I ended up denying it because he didn't really want to comply with what I needed in that scenario. I was like, I can't have it done within this time frame because I also have another job. If you don't want to provide enough money for the painting, then I have to stick to this job, and I can't afford to do that. So you're gonna have to wait a really long time for this painting, or put in more money so that it gives me the opportunity to dedicate myself to it. The best one is like, oh, it's for you'll get exposure. Like, sure, if I'm living in my parents' basement or something, or if I'm living without any rent or any responsibilities, maybe. But somebody with that sort of skill and talent is years of practice. It's not someone who's still in high school or something, painting like Zorn, Andrew Zorn. And to expect a painting like Andrew Zorn while paying much less, it's ridiculous. Just looking at the price and cost of what his paintings are. It was really ridiculous. Yeah, I'm seeing all sorts of like angle problems here. I'm still like in my mind, I'm trying to figure out like what's the best approach to dealing with it. Like, should I just continue to work on just Play-Doh, or like work everywhere at once, like work at all sorts of sections? Like I kind of started working on the guy that's holding up the Hemlock Cup last time, but here I am back at working at Play-Doh again. It's that perfectionist side of me where like unless I get it all down, I don't want to move on. You know, I want to make sure it's done right. And I think my approach here is a little bit different than, let's say, the original painter, because he's working from he might be working from models, he might be working from reference or not, but there isn't a sense of like, oh, it has to be exactly like the original. Like there's a lot of his own improvisation here, whereas I'm sticking to it as much as possible to the original. Like it would be cool to paint this and have it be like incredibly identical. Like I kind of like the idea of like if there was like a movie, let's say, about, and there was like one about an artist who was really good at forging paintings, and like he forged what was it, Rembrandt, I believe, and nobody was able to tell the difference between them. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm not pro like it's one thing if they were to paint it and then say it's theirs, but the artist was basically just recreating a painting and then selling it as if though it was like a Rembrandt. Not like, oh, this is my painting, you know. So I don't know, I think that would be a pretty cool movie if they did something else like that, but a little bit better. Like I thought that the movie that I'm talking about, it was okay. Like I thought that they could have done a lot better with the story and how it developed. Like it was a cool concept, but I don't think they worked on it enough. I don't remember the title of it. It's been a while actually since I've seen it. So I guess if the question was, if you were to commit a crime, what kind of crime would you commit? I would say that it's not harmful, you know, it's not like hurting anybody or anything like that. Whoever buys the painting gets an amazing painting. So it's not like they would buy it and then the painting would fall apart, you know, or whatever. They would still have an incredible painting, just wouldn't be the original. And at the same time, I'd still be painting. So it's like, it's kind of a, I don't know, I want to say it's like an innocent crime. I guess that would also be my like movie pitch. About like a notorious, like a Catch Me If You Can version. Like if you guys ever seen that one with Leonardo DiCaprio, one of my favorite movies as well. Where it's based off of actual like an actual person who was able to do it. Like he was like traveling around the world. He's like forging checks. This is way before they had like these this really good understanding of ways that people go around it. But he would do that. He would basically go around and figure out all different ways of getting through or getting by and making a name for himself. Like, he faked being a teacher, I think, as well. Like, I think that was based on real life. It actually happened, where he like went into a class and people assumed that he was like a substitute teacher based on how he was dressed, and instead of like just being like, no, you know, he played into it and he started teaching the class, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, he was so good at it that I think FBI hired him to like figure out check forgery. They were like, look, you know, you could either stay in jail or we're gonna hire you and you could work for us and you could help us understand other fraudulent activity and stuff. So he took on that and he became one of those officials. But yeah, it's a great movie, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio as always is pretty good. It's one of my favorite roles of him. He was also really good in The Aviator. It's another favorite movie of mine. But that's kind of like what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to like take my attention to detail and just painting skill to the next level by paying attention to all these little things, like little angles of like all the little details and color and all that, to make it almost identical. Like, that's a really it's a high bar, but I'm willing to go that direction. It's probably one of the reasons why I've been putting it off, because it is it's a huge challenge. And at the end of it, it's like I've gained better accuracy. Let's just say I painted, but I'm not going to put it in my portfolio. You know, I'm not going to be like, look at this painting that is not mine. You know, some people do that. I don't find it to be that useful, because if you get hired, if you're going to do some work, you're going to have to do work from creativity, from your own imagination. You know, so I'd rather spend that time working on stuff, like working on my ability to do things from my imagination, than painting something that isn't mine. But it's kind of good for this reason. You know, I'm just streaming. This isn't like work related, so for fun. I have this time, might as well dive back into it. And I just really love this painting, and I got a chance to see it. Actually, it's at the Met. If you guys ever go to the Met, or if you're around the Met, I highly encourage you guys to go and check this out. This painting in its full glory. I hope it's still there. I mean, it seemed like it was part of the permanent collection, so it's incredible. I think the Met has the best collection of paintings. Like, I absolutely, like, when I was there, I absolutely loved. I used to go there regularly. Like, it was a thing that I would do for fun. Like, I would just take my sketchbook with me, and I actually did a couple of drawings. Let me see if I could pull it up. Actually, this is one of the drawings that I really like, and I spent time I don't know if you guys could see it. I have to wait and see. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, this is a painting that I did at the Met. I brought my sketchbook with me, and I just stood in front. Like, this was pretty challenging because I didn't have anything to sit. I didn't have anything to sit on. I had to stand in front of the painting and draw it. So I just spent the time, and I got so into it that I didn't even pay attention to how my legs were feeling. But it was time well spent. Like, I really really enjoyed it, and I spent a lot of time on it. And I used to do that regularly. I would just take my sketchbook, go over there, and try to draw all these paintings. I think this one came out the best out of other attempts. I think I have a sketchbook somewhere with this stuff. I don't remember where exactly. That was pretty accurate. It's just I'm gonna say the color is like a bluish tint. No. Or maybe it's the shadows that are slightly on the bluish side. Another example of like multitude of colors. There's like some yellow, some blue, some gray, like all of them are present there. But I think that's what makes this painting so complicated. Such a complicated painting. And they're all mixed in so well. I do want to acquire that ability to like mix little colors here and there. It's just hard to tell the difference between mixed color and the yellowing of the canvas, because linseed oil eventually over time starts to yellow colors. Because it is oil, so just that's what happens naturally. And I can't tell if this painting has that, like those colors there on purpose. Or if it's linseed oil that's doing it. Now here's like a perfect example of like what would happen with oil paintings. See, like for digital, all I have to do is just like hit the brackets button and my brush size changes. Whereas with oil, you would have to switch the brush that you're using. You would have to pick the kind, either round or flat brush. Or if you're using one, you would have to like wash it off, you know, before you dip it into another color to make sure that the colors don't mix, it doesn't become muddy. Or if you're using a new brush, you know, you'd have to dab it into the color. And then switching back, so you kind of have to strategize like how long you're going to use each brush, you know, because you don't want to do a tiny little detail and then switch over to another brush and then go back to doing a tiny little detail, switch to that brush, and then, you know, back and forth. It's going to be time consuming, you know, so you have to kind of approach the painting in a way where you could do it faster, you know, you could be fast about it, and that requires approaching it with like a strategy. So I'm going to spend some time using this brush to get these details in, and then once that's done, I'm going to switch and use the smaller brush for X amount of time to collect, you know, to correct this or that, or add this detail or that. So the effects look similar, but the process is not the same. And it can't be substituted, like the result. First of all, you don't have to go and like get it printed and that sort of thing. Like with the oil painting that's done, you got a canvas there, you just need a frame. Whereas with this, you could keep it digital, but you know, if you were to looking to like hang it up in your living room or something, you would have to go find a good printing place, good paper to print it on, and a frame. So it's a little bit more of a laborious task for the outcome. Like going back to the idea of like the sort of outlook people have when it comes to like painting jobs, or like porter jobs or whatever else, like I think a lot of it just stems from the fact that people have this idea that an artist is somebody who's gifted, and if they're gifted, they're people get jealous of that, and start acting spiteful or whatever else. But I think the more people are aware of being able to do it is something that everybody could learn, that it's not meant to be only for this, like, you know, quote unquote God-given talent or whatever. I think it'll be it'll kind of dispel people's approach, or lessen at least their ways of seeing it, and make them less jealous and know that, like, well, I could actually learn this if I wanted to. You know, I could get myself, which absolutely everybody can. You know, it's just a matter of time, really. But at the end, pretty much anybody could attain that level with the amount of, depending on the amount of dedication that they put into it. So I think it's kind of important to dispel this like stigma on people, and instead teach people that it's something that everybody can do, rather than making it this like mystical, only selected people can achieve this. You know, don't even waste your time. Like, that approach, I think it should be removed. I think less and less people have to think of it that way. So much to do. So little time. So it's like somewhere here. It kind of helps sometimes, like working on different sections to reveal the angle or perspective of something else. Like now that I'm working on this section, I notice how the gap between this and this has to be wide. And I'm also kind of watching, like halfway, watching Game of Thrones. And what a great, great show. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad I'm rewatching it. It's just as good as it was when I was watching it for the very first time. Incredible amount of work, like just in the costume design. I think that alone says so much, and the architecture as well. Like I'm sure some of it is real, other it's like CGI, but either way, in either case, it's still incredible, and it really does like transport you into that time. You know, with all the combined with the costume work, with the architecture. Even the conversations, dialogue, the props in general, like the designs of the rooms, it's incredible. Now I'm up to the scene where Ramsay Bolton is gonna get it. Some kind of like, I forgot how it all unraveled, but I'm happy to watch it because guy was a piece of shit, man. I mean, that's how good the acting is too. Like, I get so into it. Sometimes I'm watching it and I'm like, whenever I see like the Lannisters making out, I'm like, oh, I'm so disgusted by it. But they're actors, right? So it's just like this. That's how well and convincing it is. Like I start to actually believe that they're related in some way when they're doing it. But it's so gross. It grosses me out each and every time I see that scene. When Joffrey was still around, I was like, oh my god. And I wonder what it's like for the actors, you know, because they get so into the role, right? They're so good at it. They're so convincing. Like, I wonder if there's like a time where they need to come off of it, you know, like restructure themselves or something. Because they've embodied the character so well. I'm kind of curious to know what that's really like. spending so much time in somebody else's shoes and then like having to come back to yourself. And also like how people respond, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are crazy and they're just like they get angry or something. I hope not. You know, that sounds really stupid. Like for somebody to not like the guy who plays Joffrey, or the guy who plays Ramsay Bolton. Like if they see them on the street, like do they say nasty stuff, or are they just like, or do they get heckled by people because of stuff like that? I hope not. That sounds really stupid. But you just, I don't know. You never know when it comes to that, or people act so wild when it comes to celebrities. I wouldn't be surprised. And it's also wild to think that, like for example, some of the actors basically grew up through that character. Like I think it's like years, right? Or like that they spend filming something, like multiple series. So it's like the time that they were, I don't know, I'm gonna say from the younger years especially, like it's similar to Stranger Things too. Like you watch the first season, they're like kids, they're little kids, and then you really see them transform into like teenagers to adults through the series. So like a lot of their youth is basically being these characters. It's trippy. As you get older, you don't change as much physically. You know, so some of the actors, like I want to say Winona Ryder, didn't really change that much. You know, she still looks pretty good. I mean, compared to what she looked like in Beetlejuice maybe, but there she's pretty young as well. It's actually, that's another favorite movie of mine. I love Beetlejuice. Probably one of Tim Burton's best work. I guess I'm also trying to up my my strategy here, you know, because I don't really, aside from the very beginning where you guys could see I just created these like blobs basically, I don't really have that structure to it. You know, I just kind of go wherever my eye whatever my eye kind of like catches. This music kind of reminds me actually of some of the things that I've been seeing on Instagram feeds. Where I saw like this, it's becoming more of a trend, I think, maybe, or I don't know, you know, it was just something that I came across, but I saw somebody who was like, probably in their early 20s or whatever, just dressing up like those like hair metal bands back in the 80s, back in the I'm gonna say late 80s or something, where their hair is like really teased out and they're wearing all this like hair metal band era clothes. And it wasn't just one, I saw like several, and they're not related to each other, they're not like, it didn't look like they were friends, but I was like, is this really coming back as a trend? Are people gonna start dressing up like those hair metal band days again? And I'm wondering what's driving that. If there's like some sort of band that's really pushing that, or if it's just like an Instagram thing where people are just sharing what they're into. Well, everybody, I think I am going to call it a night for tonight. For the Art Lounge Alley, but of course, I'm going to be back tomorrow for more figure drawing basics at 8 p.m. and coloring comics. I'm going to be going back to my drawing desk to traditional work, using India inks to color some Conan the Barbarian. So make sure you tune in then for more of that. And as always, if you guys enjoy this content, just remember to hit that like and subscribe button. It's greatly appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next stream.